Okay, so I'm seeing that most people, I believe, are connected. Mariah, please feel free to message me if I should wait, but I definitely want to go ahead and get started so we could introduce our subject matter expert today and speaker. Just wanted to do just a few opening slides, and then going to pass it over to Stephen. So today, this webinar is on the use of generative AI to support workforce well-being. Oh, and I'm so sorry. There we go. So this is the wonderful STAR Center team. We always include this slide on here because if you need to reach out to any of us, you will be able to contact us. You have our emails right there. I realize I did not include a housekeeping slide, but just to let everyone know, this is being recorded. So you will receive the recording as well as the slide deck. If you are having any tech issues at any point during this presentation, just send Mariah Blake a message and she will be able to help you out. And at the end, we will have an evaluation that is going to pop up. So please fill that out. We would definitely be most grateful for that. Okay, so we're here today with the Association of Clinicians for the Underserved. We were started a little bit over 25 years ago by National Health Service Corps alumni, so it's still very much at the core of what we do, but we have a lot of different types of programming. Specifically, the programming that brings us here today is the STAR Center, which stands for Solutions, Training, and Assistance for Recruitment and Retention. And what I like to point out with this slide is we are one of the 22 national training and technical assistant partners. So we're funded by the Bureau of Primary Health Care. And part of what that means is the resources, training, technical assistance, just like this training we're doing right now, are all free for you for health centers. And we do have our own website as well, which is www.chcworkforce.org. And you can contact us at info@chcworkforce.org. And that does go to a real person. It goes to Sydney Axelrod, who is part of the STAR Center team. Okay, oops, sorry, I skipped too fast. I see there's some things in the chat. I just want to check. Oh, thank you, Chessa. Chessa is amazing as well. Okay, so Stephen, I am going to stop sharing. And while you pull up your slides, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction. So as I mentioned, everyone, we're really excited today to have Stephen Lytle here. He is an AI expert, but also works at a community health center in Florida. So Stephen Lytle is a forward-thinking leader at the intersection of technology and human resources with over 15 years of experience transforming HR strategies through innovation. As the AVP of People and Culture at Ivara Health, he is dedicated to enhancing workplace norms, optimizing talent strategies, and integrating cutting-edge technology into HR practices. So we're really excited to have Stephen here. Welcome, and I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for being on the call today. I appreciate you putting the time aside. We typically see that this ends up being a really exciting topic for people. So I love seeing the number of people that have attended. And I want to open this up as we go through to let you know that I'm more than willing to allow this to be interactive. I know oftentimes we will sit on some of these conversations and it's a lot coming at us so quickly. And AI is one of those things over the last few years that has come at us at light speed. And so I just want to make sure you guys know as we go through this, if you have questions, if you want to talk about things, please treat it interactively. I want to make sure you get the most out of this. And so I'm sure you can see my screen, but I'm going to kind of walk you through this. And as Michelle mentioned, I do serve as the Assistant Vice President of People and Culture with Evra Health. I also serve as the Principal Consultant for 813HR, where we work on technology adoption and technology integration, especially in business and HR practices. But I always like to start off personally too, right? Like, who am I? Who's the person that you're talking to, or who's the person that you're listening to today, right? And first and foremost, and you'll see it on my LinkedIn, which I'll give you a link to here in a second. I'm a girl dad. I am a girl dad through and through. My little girl, Millie, who you see the picture of there, she graduated kindergarten today. So we had her cute little sign going. She is my life, right? And I'll talk a little bit about her throughout this presentation because she is so important to me. But I talk a little bit about the integration and implementation of AI tools in ways that are not just professionally, but personally, right? Because the more you use things, the more you get used to them, the better you get at it. So that is my little girl, Millie, my pride and joy. I don't know where everybody is located, but I know not everybody is here in Florida. And so sometimes when I do these presentations, or I guess most times, I always put that picture there of the ocean and the the seagulls, because we love being here on the beach. We live here in the Gulf Coast, in Tampa, Florida is where I live, and absolutely love it. The second picture there with the AI and the doctor is just, I have spent 20 years in HR functions. I worked for 20 years in healthcare. Many of those years prior to working in community health now, I spent in retail healthcare. I helped start Walmart Health when I was there for 6.5 years. I worked in employment branding and campus relations, and talent acquisition with pharmacy business at Target. I worked for a $3 billion privately held company called ChinMed, where we made money for 6 people of a family. And so what I tell people, especially when they come through orientation here at Everett Health, is I love the job I do now because I'm not making money for shareholders or stockholders. I'm not making money for a family. Every dollar we make gets reinvested back in our mission. And those of you, all of you obviously here that do community health, you understand how important that is and how every day it feels good to go home knowing what we've done. And so the other, the laptop's there because I've really been invested in technology. I'm the person who's got the beta version of my iOS on my Apple phone. I had LinkedIn back when LinkedIn first came out. Like, I remember I was doing advertising on Facebook before like they even knew what it was as a monetary, a revenue generator for them, right? Like, it was absolutely amazing. And so I've always been a big adopter of technology, and generative AI and ChatGPT has really been no different for me. And so I'm excited to share a little bit about what I've learned from that today. And then the last thing you'll see there is that QR code. And if you want to take a picture with it, if you can, you can. If not, I just put the LinkedIn link to my profile in the webinar chat. And I share that with you because, listen, I'm here to help you guys learn. I'm here to help you take something away from this. And after we've had this conversation, if there's ideas that you come up with, if you're being challenged by AI in any way, if you're trying to think of different prompts, or you just need some advice, reach out to me. I always want to help people be successful, right? I want to see you guys be able to learn and give back to your employee populations and the patient populations you work with. So definitely connect with me. I want to be there for you all, and ask questions, shoot me messages, whatever it may be. Very accessible. So one of the things I like to do, and maybe this dates me a little bit, is I always like starting with this quote, which says, innovation's taking two things that exist and putting them together in a new way, right? And what are we talking about here? Well, Tom Fresson, co-founder of MTV, is talking about video and music, right? So now we've got music videos, or we used to have music videos. Who knows what MTV is showing nowadays, right? But at the time, radio and music, and then putting that together with TV was so awesome, right? It was so new. It was disruptive. And generative AI and ChatGPT and tools like that, like Claude and Perplexity, are very much the same, right? They're taking two things, the collective knowledge of the internet and artificial intelligence, and putting it together in a new way that's been incredibly impactful, right? We have generative AI, which, it has been absolutely amazing in the way that it creates content, the way it answers questions, the way it can challenge you. People are developing businesses. We're finding ways to be able to find cancer earlier, right? People are finding solutions to healthcare problems that have stumped other people, right? Just today, I mean, I hear about how they're using it to do stock advice, and how people are really leveraging this, right? It's awesome. It's really, really cool because it's impacting so many different parts of society. And the other part of it is, as long as you get on the internet, it's pretty much free, right? It's democratizing education and democratizing technology. So anybody can get a hold of this tool, and there's tons of them that are out there for free. There's tons that are paid, and we'll go over that. But I always like to start with this quote. And now what I'll tell you is this too. I've been to a lot of AI trainings. When I go to conferences, I always find the AI, speaker or the AI panel. I want to learn what they're doing. And here's what I find. A lot of times I go in, and whether they're talking about recruitment or employment branding or talent development or employee engagement or whatever, what I often find is they're talking about hypotheticals. Well, here's what it's going to do in the future. I mean, how many times have we gone to a SHRM conference or, a presentation where they're talking about the future of work? Well, that's great. But we're HR leaders. We need to know what we're doing with work today, right? We can prepare for the future, but we got to figure out, what are we doing today? What are we doing tomorrow? And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today, right? I'm an HR practitioner. I've been doing HR for a long time. I lead HR functions. I work very strategically within HR, but that's what makes me different, right? I'm not here to sell a service. I'm not here to sell some consulting service or a product. I'm here to talk to you as your peer. as somebody who's been in the same position of you and somebody who's learned from this and has been able to implement it very successfully in their career. And so today it's a functional workshop, right? Everybody here is at a different level. You may have access to paid ChatGPT. You may have maybe dabbled your toes in it. You may have tried and got frustrated. You may be the person using it every single day. And what's really great about today's presentation is we're going to be able to help every one of you, right? So first, it's a functional workshop. Whether you know how to use generative AI tools or ChatGPT already, I'm going to go through some best practices, right? I'm going to make sure I share with you some things that are important to know. I'm going to talk to you a little about prompt engineering. I'm going to give you some advice on how to get the most out of it, right? I just had somebody on my company say, hey, I need $1,500 for this prompt engineering class that I'm going to take at the local university. I said, just come spend 5 weeks with me. Come spend 1 hour a week with me for 5 weeks. I'll teach you everything you need to know, right? ChatGPT can teach you everything that you need to know. But I'm going to give you some basics, right? We're going to give you the ChatGPT, the Generative AI 101 today to help you out with that. I saw somebody ask, am I going to provide the slides for this presentation? Absolutely. You guys can have them. No big deal. And then finally, what we'll get into, and it's the meat and potatoes of what you're going to want to see, right? What are the real world use cases? Like, how do I go use this tomorrow? Because I don't want to hear about the future of work anymore. I want to know, how am I going to be able to change my work tomorrow to help the well-being of my workforce, to help my team, to be more productive in what I do, to be more strategic in what I do. That's my goal. And if you walk away from this saying, I know what I can do tomorrow, or maybe it's Friday and I don't want to do any work like that tomorrow, I'll wait till next week, but I'm going to do it, then I'm going to be happy. And I'd love if you guys connect with me on LinkedIn for me to hear what you're doing with it, right? And to hear those challenges so I can support you better. But we're going to walk away knowing how to integrate this into your work. So what's the first thing to know? Well, I think most of the time when people get on generative AI, and there's a ton of platforms out there, right? There's Perplexity, which is great with knowledge and deep research. There's Claude, which is a really great tool for like content generation and to be able to create audio trainings or to be able to create social media content, or whether it's ChatGPT, which is like the Swiss Army knife of them all, right? It creates images, whatever it may be. There's tons of tools out there, right? But when most people first get on it, they say, well, they treat it like Google. Hey, how do I do this? Or what does this mean, right? And they start to understand how it is used. But then they move into productivity because we start saying, well, I've heard so much about productivity. I've heard about how this can make me better and faster. Now I start learning, right? How can I create this blog post? Help me out with this email. Help me summarize this information, right? We start getting productive. But the key with productivity is, and I tell this to my team all the time, we use AI tools to decrease the administrative burden to my team. And the purpose for that is because the less transactional we are, the more transformational we can be, the more we can work on the work that makes a difference in the employee populations, the communities we support, right? The work that's more what? Strategic. That's when you start to understand strategy. And some of the use cases today, we'll talk a little bit about strategy. We'll give you some of those ideas, and I'll show you things like custom GPTs, which are really, really cool. But whether you've gotten started or not, I think it's always still really good to go over the foundation and talk about the basics. And so first and foremost, identify your best resources out there. For me, it's ChatGPT because it was really one of the first ones that came out. I've grown up with it. I've seen the user interface change. I've seen the functionality of it, the ability to do research, deep research, whatever it may be. I've learned with it, right? Now I've picked up other tools, Notebook LM, Perplexity, Claude, the ones that I've talked about here already. But go find what's out there, right? Go research what's out there and see what works best for you, because a lot of them have different use cases and different best practices in terms of what you'll get the most out of them. But find out what works best for you. Once you've done that, one thing I want to call out here is don't be afraid to explore the paid versions. If you got to ask your community health center if you can get an extra $20 a month to get the paid version of ChatGPT, do it. Right? If you have an AI governance committee and they're willing to let you do those things, do it. Because what I tell people is that the free version of ChatGPT is like still being on an 8-track player when we're on digital music. Deep research is an amazing tool that's out there. Some of the tools that you can do to create images, Sora, where you can create videos, being able to create custom GPTs. The level of functionality is so much better if you have the pro version. And of course, you pay for it. That's why, right? You're paying for that access. You're paying for those capabilities. So just like everything you pay for, you're usually going to get a better version out of it when it's paid. And that may be ChatGPT, that may be other versions. If you're on T-Mobile, you can get Perplexity free for Perplexity Pro for free. So keep an eye out there. What are some of the ways that you can do that? Other tools that are around AI, Canva, there's a lot of AI tools integrated into Canva for digital image creation, marketing materials, especially when we talk about well-being and how we communicate out to our employee populations. Canva's free for nonprofits, right? The pro version of it. And it has tons of AI tools in there. You can look at other tools like Notebook LM that are free, or Monday.com. It's a project management software, really more around automation, but it does have AI tools embedded into it. But again, it's free. And if you have interest in any of those, let me know. I can send you some links and get you connected to those. The other part I like to talk about this is be intentional about adoption. And I kind of highlighted this a little bit earlier. But for you to get the most out of using your AI tools, you have to be intentional about the way you adopt them, right? So I use them all the time. I've created custom GPTs that are just a life counselor and career coach for me, right? I've created every night, not every night, but most nights when I go to bed with my daughter, we do a 5-minute story. And I tell ChatGPT, hey, Millie is looking for a story about a dragon, a mermaid, and a mountain. And don't ask me how you're going to get that mermaid on the mountain, but I'll tell you what, I need you to tell her a lesson about sharing, right? And she loves it. She calls it Mimi. She's like, hey, can Mimi tell me a story tonight, right? And so it tells her a 5-minute story because we use the audio version on my iPhone, right? And it's really great because I'm using it adoption intentionally, right? I use it every morning where I say, how am I going to use this today? Whether in communication, whether it's in building newsletters, refining policy, right? The more you use it, the stronger you get at it. And so when I say be intentional about adoption, think about it, right? How can you use it to be more effective, to be more efficient, to be more productive in your role? And so I really like talking to people about it, right? I used to joke about how I'd use it to send text messages. And then I was like, oh, don't want anybody to know that I'm sending text messages that are helped by ChatGPT. So I took that out of my presentation, but I guess I still throw myself under the bus a little bit, right? And then finally, and we're going to explore this really heavily today, explore custom GPTs, right? What you get at the surface level of the user interface for ChatGPT is great. You got to remind it of a lot of things. You got to hope you have the right library built, right? Whether it remembers things about you or not. But custom GPTs so much further enhance your efficiency and allow you to really customize the function of how you use ChatGPT or other tools, right? So I love sharing that with you a little bit about that today. Now, I'm going to pause for a second in case anybody has questions. It seems like we've been okay today. But any questions before I jump into prompt engineering? Because I want to make sure I go into that for you.
Stephen, I don't see anything in the chat, but have gotten some comments. And Emily said, brilliant use of AI to craft bedtime stories with lessons. And then Chessa had said, yay, girls, dads rock. So
We do rock. We are pretty cool after all. I keep pictures of everybody always jokes that I have so much stuff in my office for my daughter. So, and you're right. I think the brilliant use, thanks, I appreciate it. I wouldn't call it brilliant, just maybe like a fun idea. But I also do, if you have kids, I also do morning affirmations with my daughter on the way to school, right? And it's cool because we don't just do affirmations where it helps us come up with them, but we say, why is that affirmation important? Why is being kind important? Why is being intelligent important, right? And it helps my kids. I only have one, but it helps her understand technology too, right? It helps her better adapt to that. I'm not a big iPad parent or like screens parent, so she likes when we do get to use those things. So let's talk a little bit about prompting, right? I look at prompt engineering as a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science, right? Because it's truly logic driven, but you kind of have to finesse it a little bit. And so within that art and science, what I like to kind of compare it to, especially when I'm talking to business leaders and HR leaders, is ChatGPT is like an intern, right? You have somebody who is a subject matter expert on everything, but you still have to finesse it a little bit, right? And so one of the things, just like we would talk to an intern, is I'm not going to go tell my intern, hey, I need you to go run a whole entire compensation project for me, but I'm probably going to simplify this task to amplify the output, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, just like in our everyday goals, if we have really big objectives or goals we're trying to reach in our organization, we're going to break it down to something that's a little bit smaller. What can I do today? What can I do this week? What can be accomplished this month to reach that strategic organizational goal? And in that same way, if I was working with an intern, I don't want to have, hey, just go run an entire compensation project. I might say, hey, first, why don't you go run some benchmarking against these 10 roles that we have the most employee population in. Run the benchmark against hospital organizations, other FQHCs in the states, nonprofits, whatever it may be. I'm going to break it down into a manageable task. And sometimes I talk to people about this in terms of a book, right? So for an example, if I wanted to go write a book, I'm not going to ask it to write the book right away. I'm going to say, hey, I want to write a book on talent development within a community healthcare space. So the first thing I need you to do is help me write a chapter by chapter guide, right? Now I need you to help me write the introduction. Now write the introduction for the first chapter. And now let's go into the content of the first chapter and then the closure of the first chapter. You have to break it down into smaller but manageable tasks to get the output that you want, right? Then what else is important? Well, detail drives precision, right? You need to be detailed in what you tell an intern, right? If you tell them just to go run some benchmarking analysis on roles, they might go do whatever they want, or they might not know that to compare it against somebody that's another FQHC, maybe what your state association provides, any kind of that, right? So you always want to give it that information so you can tailor what you're looking for. Same thing. If I said, hey, I'm writing an email about well-being benefits, and here are some of the benefits to my employee population, it might write me something generic. But if I say it's a healthcare population that struggles with burnout, or it's a really, the population I'm really going to be focusing on today is medical assistants, or going to be focusing on dental assistants, for example, it really starts to create, specifics to what you want and what you need. So the detail really drives precision. That's how you get really highly customized, really accurate things, prompts and responses. And I'm going to go through bad responses and good bad prompts and good prompts in a few. So you'll see this. Clarify to enhance understanding. This is a trick that I tell people every single time, and they go, you know what? I never thought about that. But if I send an intern to do a job, before I tell them to do the job, I'm probably going to say, hey, intern, you have any questions? Do you want to know anything else? Is there anything I can tell you to help you be better at this? The same way that I should ask ChatGPT, hey, is there anything else you need to know to be able to provide this output that I'm looking for? Is there anything you need to know? Because what happens is we're subject matter experts. We work in HR, we work in whatever part of our business, and we just think that it knows. But sometimes we need to ask, hey, what about this, right? So that it doesn't provide us answers that aren't relevant to what we need, or at least are more relevant to what we need, and take into consideration as many things as possible. And oftentimes, especially when you're using it strategically, it'll probably ask you questions that you weren't really ready for, right? Things that you're like, oh, maybe I need to think about that myself. And then I also like to say, explore multiple pathways, right? So a really good example of this is if I'm writing a blog internally for my organization about well-being, I might say, hey, provide me 2 or 3 options for this blog, right? And here's some, maybe using this voice or this tone or this intent or this audience, right? And then maybe another option here. Or if I'm doing a LinkedIn post or a social media post for my organization, I'll say, hey, give me multiple options to choose from. Or if I'm writing a policy, give me some options to choose from, right? I do that because it's, again, how you do this. You feedback. You give it fine tuning, right? Because if it gives you options, you can say, I like paragraph 1 here, paragraph 2, paragraph 3 here. Let's blend those together. It's really about feedback, right? Anytime when I first started using ChatGPT, I heard people get frustrated with because they talked about hallucinations, which are, if you do a lot of this, will be relatively, out of the picture. They would talk about how, well, it didn't give me the right response, right? Or I asked it about a Supreme Court case that just came out and it wasn't trained to that date, right? They got really frustrated with it because they weren't getting the output on the very first try. Well, never should you take an output from ChatGPT, plug and play it into whatever you're doing, even if it's just writing emails, right? Go in and edit it, feedback, fine tuning, get it to what you need to be, right? This is not meant to make us lazy. It's meant to make us better. And people often ask me, hey, if you're not using ChatGPT, if you're using it all the time, does that make us dumber? No, because if you're doing the things that we talk about here, it's strengthening your communication skills, right? So I talk a lot about that. And so let's talk a little bit about prompting first, right? And I love that I got to put some well-being stuff in here because this is the first time I've done a presentation on well-being for ChatGPT. And so let's prompt for a second, right? As I give you an example of what we just talked about, a really bad prompt would be and you guys can see my screen with ChatGPT, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so give me a recipe, how to for a peanut butter and jelly, right? Something easy that we all know how to do. And so if I ask it, it's going to say 2 slices of white bread, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of jelly, grape, strawberry, favorite flavor, option, right? It's giving me lots of options, right? But a really good example of this is, well, what if I'm allergic to PB and gluten, right? And I don't like crust, if you're like my daughter, and I like guava jelly, right? Now I'm being more specific. I'm telling it what I need. That first recipe didn't give me what I wanted because I don't like gluten. I like guava jelly. I need sunflower seed butter, right? Like now I have a recipe that gives me everything I need. And look, it was nice enough to throw in some allergy friendly tips, right? So it's important to call this out because It's an example of giving it feedback. It's an example of telling it what you need, right? If you put in something very basic, and a lot of people put in prompts that are one sentence or two sentences, you're not going to get the response that you need. And so let's think about this in terms of well-being, right? So let me go back to my screen here. I'm going to be kind of going through, right? So we're talking about building an emotional well-being campaign. That's what this is really about, right? So I want to show some effective prompting this way. And so if you had, a bad prompt when you're trying to build a monthly well-being initiative for a community health center, it includes a themed newsletter, audio training, and activity, right? You might say, man, I'm an HR professional. Just give me ideas for a wellness initiative. Well, that's probably not going to be great for you, right? So let's go and see, like, if I put that prompt in, what am I going to get? Sure, here's several creative ways: move at work challenges, lunchtime fitness classes, step count competitions, right? Like, just kind of generic ideas. Now, it doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that it's not a good place to start. But how about this instead, right? What if I come in and say, hey, I'm planning, we'll go back to this way it pops it out. I'm planning a monthly emotional well-being initiative for a staff at an FQHC. The audience includes administrative and clinical staff. We're more experiencing high levels of stress and burnout. I want to focus on a different theme each month that's practical, emotionally supportive, right? Can you help provide, themes, a short title, 1 to 2 sentence summary? Let's see what we get out of this, right? Title: Breathe and Reset. This month's all about micro breaks, using short intentional moments to regulate stress. 2-minute grounding exercise card, something that's printer friendly or mobile friendly that you can share with your teams, right? Title: The Boundaries That Heal. Burnout that comes from blurred lines. This month, staff will explore simple, respectful ways to set boundaries and protect their energy without compromising care, right? So it shows you what it needs you. It's giving you 3 different options here. It says, would you like, a 12-month calendar of ideas tailored to specific roles, right? Awesome. Well, what did we do here with this? Well, one, we simplified. We want to just focus on the themes. We provided some detail, right, in terms of the precision that we were looking for. We gave it a very specific focus on the workforce type, the tone, the emotional needs, and we asked it for multiple pathways, right? Give me a few different options to choose from. So you kind of get what you're looking for here. Now, let's imagine I want to write a newsletter about burnout, right? I'm not going to get a really good response. But if I put something in like, hey, and I'll go back to it so you can see it. It went too far, sorry. Let's use the theme resetting after burnout. Please create a 250 word newsletter article in a warm conversational tone aimed at medical assistants, social workers, and dental staff. Goals to normalize feelings of burnout and offer a simple mindset shift for tips they can use that day. Keep the reading level at 8th grade. Around the end, create a brief call to action encouraging the monthly self-care challenge. Please avoid corporate jargon, right? So look, it's just a simple resetting after burnout. Let's be honest, burnout's real. You're not alone. Whether you're checking a patient, assisting with care, or helping throughout the tough moment, it's a lot. So it automatically will resonate with my employee population because I'm already talking about helping patients, right? Assisting with care. That's what they do. It's better than just a generic article that comes from it, right? If you're feeling tired, you've been sleeping, snapping more, or running on empty, your body and mind may be a reset. Instead of asking, what do I have to do next? Ask what I do now. Try the monthly self-care challenge, blah, 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 right? So you can do that. Now, look, what's really, really cool about ChatGPT is you have this write or code here, right? And so if I want to say, let's rewrite that using Canvas, I'm going to show you something that it does really cool, right? So Canvas opens up this tool like this. And what's really cool about Canvas is I told it I wanted to be at the 8th grade level. I told it the things that I was looking for there, right? And Canvas, I can go in and let's see if it'll do it for me. Here we go. You see these tools over here? I can add emojis, right? Words, sections, remove, whatever I want. I can come in and say, you know what? I want to adjust the length. This is great for something that my team will get, but let's make it the longest, right? I want this to be something that's much longer because while my team might get that, I don't know if I'm getting enough value out of that for them, right? So here's a mindset tip today, this month's theme, try the monthly self-care challenge. And maybe I want to do this for doctors instead, right? So I'll go in and say, let's make the reading level, let's do graduate school, right? So now I can make the reading level different. So I can highly customize my outcomes of what I'm looking for, right? A practical cognitive reframing tool is to shift from operational mindset of what must I do next to a self-reflective inquiry of what do I need right now, right? That might resonate with a highly educated audience, but maybe not with, those that might be front desk or whatever, right? And so maybe I want to take that back and say I want to have a middle school level. So I bring it back to whatever I made be. I can put polish on it, whatever it is that I really need, right? So I think that's just a really cool way to show how you can use the Canva tool, which is found here, create images, search web, write code, run deep research, which is awesome if you haven't ever used that, to show how you can use this a little bit more effectively. And then you can close out of the Canva tool. Once you're done with that, you're fine, right? So what does that do? Well, it shows you that, by using the theme, telling the tone, the audience, you isolate this to a newsletter. This is what you want it to be, like a blog. You tell, the preference on the tone and style. It's going to build you out what you need, right? So let's think through again. Now, what's another bad prompt? Well, I've created this newsletter. I have these themes that I'm exploring. I have a newsletter to kind of support that. Now I'm looking at audio training format and script planning, right? So turn this into an audio training, right? Hey, building the rollout plan, give me a plan to launch this. Probably not a really good way to get that, right? But, and I'm going to go down just a little bit because I think we skipped one, but I want to do this, right? So now please plan a simple outline for this, right? I want to be able to have all this really be done for me. This is where we go into how we roll this out strategically. So I'm saying, hey, outline a simple rollout plan for this monthly theme. Assure HR has a few hours a week to dedicate. The plan should include a newsletter, how to share, our audio trainings, etc. Right? So week 1, we're going to launch it the first week. We'll send the newsletter. We're going to send the audio training. We're going to post the self-care challenge. Week 2, send a quick message, a reminder. Hey, subject, sample body, all month, track participation, right? End of month optional updates, all of this, right? This is all very basic because here's why. This was just to show you how to prompt. Let me show you guys some things that work really, really well, right? This prompting was just to show you how do you simplify the requests, provide the detail, clarify the questions, provide feedback, right? How you get an output that's going to be better because you follow some simple tools. But let me follow you guys with this. Here's where we get really, really good with this, right? Custom GPTs. And I'm going to give you some examples, and I'm going to show you one that I actually built as an example to this presentation. And like I said, first time I've used a presentation around well-being, so you'll have to be a little bit patient with me. But custom GPTs, these are how you get the most out of using any kind of generative AI tool. If you're using ChatGPT, it's a great way to use it because you can highly personalize what you're trying to achieve, right? So really good examples are, and I'm going to show you first where you find it, is if I'm going to use ChatGPT and I have the pro version, I can create it. You come up here in the right-hand corner where your picture is. There's a part in here that says My GPTs, Customize ChatGPT. Go through these things, right? These are things that are important. I don't have my Customize on, or my settings don't remind everything because when I do presentations, I don't want it to remember what I've done in prior presentations because it will then remember I'm gluten-free for my PB&J example. But you can customize it to tell what kind of job you're in or what kind of role you're in or what kind of work you do. You can customize those. But the My GPTs are really, really important. You can see I have a lot of GPTs built in here, right? Health and Wellness Assistant, which we're going to talk about here in a second. FMLA Bot, MedLingo, which is a translation services. My Mentor GPT. I have GPTs in here for performance management, HR Assistant, like ones I've shared with other people, right, that are being used more broadly. HR training. One of my favorite ones is this HR training one because it's a two-way simulation where you pick it up and you say, here's a scenario that I'm dealing with. I need to role play, and it'll role play that with you, whether you're a manager or an HR leader. You'll finish the role play and it tells you 3 things you're good at, 3 things you need to prepare on better, right? 2 things you need to improve upon. It's a great training tool for performance management conversations or annual evaluation conversations or difficult conversations at all, right? It's a really, really great training tool. So, and you can see in here, ever competency development, that's a really big chat that we used to create core competencies for our organization here. So you can share with you a lot of these things. We're going to share one here in a second, but you just hope to create a customized GPT. You just go up here, create a customized GPT, you name it, provide it a description, give it instructions. User tip, have ChatGPT help you write the instructions, right? It's like the catch-22. ChatGPT will do all this work for you if you follow those rules about giving it the detail, telling it what you want. I'm going to show you that here in a second. Put an image if you want, whether you want it to have web search, Canvas tool, whatever it may be, you can add that in there and then you click create. So let me give you some ideas from a well-being perspective. Could you create a custom GPT of the Health Center compliance module? You could, yeah, you probably could. You really could. That would be something that would be a really cool idea, actually, now that you think about it. So when I think through this, when I think through my custom GPTs that I'm talking to you about, what are some ones that we could create, right? And I created one in here. I haven't created all three of these, but these are the ideas, right? Think about this from well-being perspective of finance, financial well-being, emotional well-being. Think about if you uploaded into your custom GPT your health center's organizational structure, the job titles, maybe the job descriptions, maybe career ladders that you had at your organization, right? Core competencies, if you have specific core competencies that are aligned to different jobs, maybe best practices that you have for professional development in your workplace, whether it's education assistant programs, right? Whether that's individual development plans that you guys do, whether you have formalized development programs, right? And sometimes people ask, well, what can and can't you put into ChatGPT? It depends on what version you have, right? And it depends on what your AI governance committee has, if you have one, or what level of comfort you feel about the information you're sharing. I would never share HIPAA or personal employee information. But to me, I come and talk to people all the time about what we do from a development perspective, the way that we support employees, career ladders, progression, our education assistance programs. Those things are not proprietary information. Those are things you want people to know so you can be better, right? Like, so they want to come work for you and they build your employment brand. Um, and so you got to think about what you're safe with in your organization, what you feel comfortable with. But if you add all that in there, right? Imagine an employee being able to go into that custom GPT. All they need is the link and say, look, for me today, I need a pathway for how I can get certified or a mentor or help me to understand what career pathing is for me to become a dental hygienist. And right now I'm a dental assistant, right? And maybe it talks to them about specific things like what are their financial problems that they might have to reach that, right? What kind of mentors do they have? It will really be robust in how it helps them get there. And maybe it offers them conversational insights to how they can talk with their leaders about development, right? Not every organization has a robust development program. And so how can you own that as an employee? So how does it support well-being? Well, of course, we want people to grow. We don't want to we want to demystify and create transparency about promotion pathways. We want you to be here for a long time. We want you to make more. We don't want that. We don't want to not see you be successful. It builds sense of purpose and future stability of the organization. It helps people engage in self-development and financial planning to help with that growth, right? Including engaging resources at your organization. So imagine a receptionist wants to become an outreach coordinator and they can be told, here are the core competencies for an outreach coordinator. Here's some people that are in those roles currently that you might want to job shadow. Here's a timeline for what you might be able to achieve. Maybe here's some budget planning with tools embedded for that, right? Um, and so these are opportunities of where you give people an opportunity to own their development. Because oftentimes I find that people only grow and develop into other roles because somebody puts it in their lap. Hey, you're ready to be a dental assistant senior or a lead dental assistant, or hey, I'm ready for you to be a supervisor or a manager. We need to give people an opportunity to own it, right? To make more, to have careers like this. So you have that. Somebody said, what kind of lift are you looking at to create these GPTs? It seems cool, but also potentially really time sensitive. I built one. The one I'm going to show you guys today, I built in 10 minutes. So I'll show you here in a second. Good question, Becky. So you got that one, right? One thing that's kind of cool, just so you guys know, all these images I created with ChatGPT. These are ChatGPT created images because look, that's a robot helping somebody with their career growth and development. It's exactly what I need, right? So here's one talking about your digital EAP, your personal life navigator GPT, right? Employees have emotional well-being, also that financial well-being. Here's a robot helping people navigate, also a GPT picture that I created custom for this, right? What is it? Well, what if we created a confidential conversational GPT that acts as a digital EAP to our employees, right? That connects them to our insurance resources, our employee assistance programs, other programs we may have internally that are related to maybe our foundations or employee giving, right? Oftentimes employees don't feel comfortable coming and talking to HR about what they have going on in their life or talking to their leader because it's really personal stuff. Sometimes they don't have time to go set up an EAP and take off 30 minutes from work to go talk to somebody or to go get the code and then try to find a behavioral health counselor or a mental health professional that takes 3 months to be able to get access to, right? Maybe they don't want to come to our own health centers because they feel like they want to have that privacy, right? Well, this has been a really big one for me. For me, I thought about this a long time ago on how could we help seniors combat loneliness by creating these GPTs like this for them, right? But the AI offers empathetic support, right? It talks about what your policies are that might be able to support them. Also, you build things into it like avoid risky guidance, right? You want to build into instructions for this. Do not tell that employee to go find a lawyer, please. Do not tell them to go, to provide clinical recommendations. If something seems like it needs to be escalated, tell them they must partner with their HR team to open that door, to have that conversation, right? It could offer optional options like, journaling or mood tracking where it allows them, right? But imagine this, an employee facing eviction receives a set of community housing support links for the local area. We're here in Pinellas County. We've got Pinellas County Cares. We've got Habitat for Humanity. We've got a lot of different organizations here that might be able to help somebody who's facing eviction, right? Or maybe we have resources internally. So maybe it gives them that opportunity. Maybe it tells them about emergency loan options that are available to them for their 403B. And they never have to trigger a conversation with their manager. They never have to feel that embarrassment of, I don't have enough money or I can't make ends meet, right? So it could be anything from emotional well-being. It could be financial well-being. It could be tied to your programs. It could not be. I showed you earlier in my custom GPTs, I have one that's a My Mentor GPT for me. It talks to me about my career. It talks to me about my mental health. In full transparency, in the last year, I went through a divorce. I used that thing until I think that computer had smoke coming out of it, right? Like, I just needed somebody to talk to, and I didn't want to weigh down my friends, and I didn't want to go to a therapist for it. I just need somebody to ask me questions, to help me think through things, right? It really does become a tool to help you improve your life. You just got to use it the right way. Sure, there's probably going to be some challenges around, is this anonymous? Is this going to be something where, the company isn't following this? But if you build it through a GPT like this, it's just theirs. It's through their own account. And then the last one, and this one's always fun because people seem to like it, right, is a health and habit GPT. How many of you at your health centers are doing walking challenges or weight loss challenges, or go do a annual check on your wellness, or go see your primary care provider, and we're going to give you HSA incentives, right? We're doing all of these things. But what employees have are specific goals, and they have specific challenges. So what if I want to lose 10 pounds? Or what if I'm a parent like I am today, and I just don't have the time to create healthy meal options and recipes and all that, right? Well, this is a really, really easy one, and I'm going to show you here in a second that it's a wellness companion that they can use at any time to support physical and emotional well-being challenges, for ongoing support, comprehensive, right? It's going to build small, achievable goals by asking you things like, what is your well-being goal? What challenges do you have? What's your budget look like? What's your time budget look like, right? All these things to make sure that it's really customized to you as an individual, right? And why is it maybe a physician working 10-hour shifts? But here's what I'm going to show you, right? Let me pop this one up because this is one of the chat GPTs I built. So Evra Health, Wellness, and Employment. I'd like to support, let's say, I like support creating healthy family meal plans, right? That's a great goal. I want to help. And I created this one already. And so here's a lot of questions. How many people are you cooking for, right? We're gonna answer some of these to make this easy, to show you guys how easy this is to support employees, right? How many people are you cooking for and their ages? 2. I am 43 and Millie is 6. Now you guys know how old I am. Are there any food allergies or anything I need about? Let's just say no milk, right? I like whole milk, so don't think that that's true. Do you have a family-specific culture or diet plan? Nope, we don't. What's your budget like for groceries each week? Let's just say $200, right? Do you prefer meals that are quick to prepare? I don't have a lot of time, so easier is better. Do you have access to a full kitchen and cooking tools? Yep, right? Would you like to plan by the week or month? Let's say week. Would you like to meal plan to include breakfast, lunch? Let's just say breakfast and dinner, right? Because I'm at work. Are there any meals that your family already love? Like, this is a great question. Are there family meals that you love to have, like spaghetti? Like spaghetti and meatballs, 100%. And pizza. Clearly, my daughter's Italian, right? So let me just fix it. It doesn't care if I have this, right? So here we go. So look, now I've had this for my employees. I provided, hey, I'm going to include kid-friendly, dairy-free meals. I'm going to prep time under 30 minutes when possible. Before we get started, just one quick check. We prefer mostly whole food-based meals or using convenience. And let's just say whole food, right? Because I want to be healthy. Because I want to be healthy. Please. And always say please to the chat bots because you never know when they're going to be our overlords and take us over. Right? Hey, I'm putting together a perfect plan. Let me search the web real quick. I'm going to give you a weekly breakfast and dinner plan. So thanks for your patience for you and your 6-year-old daughter. Here we go. On Monday, almond milk French toast with maple syrup and butter. Take 15 minutes. Use almond milk topped with fresh and frozen berries, right? banana oatmeal dinner plan, right? Here's your grocery list. It's going to tell you everything you need for this. So let's just say this is your dinner plan and your breakfast plan. Avocado toast, smoothie, almond flour, banana pancakes. That's a little fancy for me, to be honest with you. Scrambled eggs with sauteed spinach and whole grain toast, lentil soup, grilled chicken. I mean, it's giving you a really healthy dinner, right? It's telling you how long it's going to take you to make it, right? Your produce, your protein, what you need from the store, right? Overnight prep. Boom. I now have a meal plan for my daughter and I for the full week, right? And so all I had to do, and so I could also say, can you get specific on grocery item amounts? I typed too fast, and so boom. 10 bananas, 1 pound of strawberries, 1 pound of mixed berries, 4 pounds of avocados. I do a lot of online shopping. When it comes to my food, I get it delivered. So you guys will have to tell me if this equals to $200 a week, or I can ask it under $200 a week. I live in Tampa for reference, right? Searching the web, give it some feedback and say, is that under $200? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Yeah, your grocery plan, you say under $200, you're considering Tampa's. Here's your produce, proteins, grains, dairy alternatives, pantry staples, about 160 to 195. Here's some ways to maximize your budget, right? Really cool tool for my employees to be able to use to go meal plan very, very quickly, right? Or if I want to use it, and let's say I'll go back to it and use it for something else. Hey, I'd like support to lose my weight, help my weight loss goals. What motivates you? Have you tried anything in the past that worked that didn't work for you? What's your desired timeline? Do you have any dietary restrictions? Do you have access to a kitchen or gym? Would you like a weekly plan, right? So these show you the kind of questions that it'll ask our employees to help them reach their weight loss goals, right? Hey, thanks for taking your time and answering. Just a few responses will help us have a sustainable and realistic plan, right? Let me go back to the My GPT because I'll show you the one I had with it. One of the other ones I said is I'd like a upper body workout plan for the week for 3 days, right? I've built this to ask questions every single time. What's your current fitness level? Do you have access to a gym? Let's just say intermediate. Yes, no, 1 hour, strength focused, right? Now, again, don't worry about my typing. It's going to tell you, hey, day one, push, here's what you're going to do, right? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to tell you all that. It should ask the question, do you want a printable version? Do you want video demos for these exercises? A complimentary lower body or core plan? Check this out. Because one of the things I built for it is to ask those questions because people might not know what that workout is, right? So boom, can you give me video demos for these exercises? And now it's going to search the web and it's going to show me how to do these exercises that I might not know how to do, right? It's about accessibility. It's about ease. It's about making things really, really easy for people, right? Barbell bench press video. If I don't know how to do it, I'm about to find out. Turn this down real quick and see if I can skip this, right? But if I don't know how to do a barbell bench press for some reason, boom, I'm here it in. The guy with the shirt off. Sorry, all you ladies have to see this, but boom, now you see him show you how to do a barbell bench press video, right? As simple as that. So I share that with you guys because I think it's important for you to be able to see. I'm going to close out of that because I don't want to see that anymore, right? I've just created accessibility to healthcare outcomes and healthy outcomes for my employees, right? Creating these really cool GPTs for them. And again, it's as simple as going back. Let me see if I can pull up. I'll show you guys how I built that real quick because I want to show you. I'll show you the prompt of how I did it. Right? So here is, let me see if I can find it. In here, I'm trying to see if I can find it. I went through some things where I helped build this, but what I did was I took some ideas from it and I built the custom GPT. And I basically said, I'm trying to see if I can find the right one. There we go. So if you look here, what I did is I said, here's my I had it build these custom GPT programs for me, right? I told it the interaction style. I told everything I wanted when I gave it my updates here, where I gave it, I want to create a prompt to develop a custom GPT to support health and habit coach. Here's some details about it. Here's some things I want to do with it. And then it built all of the instructions here that I used to build this custom GPT by just creating it like this. You got to let ChatGPT teach you ChatGPT. You got to let generative AI teach you generative AI. It's really easy if you use it to use it, right? So I did all that, and I think somebody had asked that question, like how long does it take? It took me maybe 15 minutes between coming up with the idea, between working out the instructions, getting it right, and then building it into a custom GPT like that, and then publishing it, right? So you could create these kind of guidebooks, these kind of custom GPTs for your teams, right? Let's see here. Stay informed. Some ways, and I'll share this chat with you. I'll share everything with you. LinkedIn, newsletters, people you should follow, streaming audio that you can go follow. Keep up to date on ChatGPT, generative AI tools. There's a lot of really cool ways to learn how to do this, but you got to kind of follow up because it goes really fast. Things are changing very, very quickly. So I'll pause, see if there's questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here in a second. Before I do, I'll keep that QR code up in case you want to take a picture. I know we got about 5 minutes, but in case you have any questions, things I can answer for y'all.
Yes, Stephen, there's two questions. I saw that Rima had done a follow-up question, and then there's another one. But Rima had asked, what's the best way to create custom chat GPTs, share it with staff, and make sure its cybersecurity is safe?
Yeah, well, cybersecurity wise, I mean, if you're creating a custom GPT, like there's nothing that needs to be secure with a custom, health coach, right? That's nothing that you can't go find online, right? And when you're going to be sharing, if you create a custom GPT like this and it's not embedded into your own programs, they're going to be going into ChatGPT to go look at it, right? So it's going to be they have an account and they open up their account and they look at it. So in terms of the cybersecurity there, in terms of you've got to have your own, whether you have an AI governance committee or an AI, committee within your organization, you've got to work within the confines of what you feel is appropriate. Or maybe, and I always say this, HR kind of has to push the boundaries to get people to think differently about AI, because legal is going to tell you no, IT is going to tell you there's issues with cybersecurity, but you've got to find use cases that show the value. Now, there is also an enterprise version of ChatGPT. When you use Microsoft Copilot, you can create agents that way. Custom GPTs are just agents, right? You can find use cases. And I think the more you find use cases for leaders and people in your organization who have influence to see the value that it brings to your organization, the more you're going to open up the opportunities to either have an enterprise version or a pro version or whatever that may be that's going to increase security. Or to have conversations. So for an example, I tell people, don't be hesitant to put your job descriptions in there, because you go post your job descriptions online every time you open a job. There's nothing sensitive about your job description, right? So think about it logically, right? Do not put employee sensitive information in there. Don't put HIPAA information. Don't put social security numbers in there, right? But you could go do engagement survey analysis and you remove all the information that's sensitive to your organization, right? There's a lot of ways to use this. So I think you got to think about what's going to be, for your organization, your level of risk that you're allowed to have, or that you've worked on with your either leadership suite or with your governance committees, and then you can figure out how to use it. But a lot of these tools, right? Things like an EAP program, there's nothing there. That's their ChatGPT they're talking to. It's not yours. It's nobody else's, right? That's their program. A well-being coach, things like that, a career coach. Those aren't really things that I find to be sensitive, because those are things we want to talk to people about externally and we shouldn't be hiding. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and there's a few more questions. So I know we just have 3 minutes. I think there's 3 questions left. What's going to happen is Mariah is going to pull up the evaluation. So if you all can fill it out, and then Stephen just going to read out the questions to see
Yeah,
how
I'll go
to
through.
get you. But Mark had mentioned when you were creating the custom GPTs and sharing with employees, what does it look like on the employee side? For example, do you have an enterprise version that the employee has to sign into?
No, yeah, just like what I just said, right? If you're using ChatGPT, for example, it's just their ChatGPT. It's their profile. They have to log in and use it, right? You're just giving them a link to a custom GPT that you've created specifically for whatever population you're sending that to, right? And in terms of how you communicate that out, you could embed that into something on your program. You could send it out via communications, Teams chat, whatever. I think you have to really kind of figure out what are the use cases and how you want to use it and how you want to communicate that out. I saw that Becky asked a question about providing less than credible information. Is that something you resolve with more specific prompts? 100%, right? If you tell ChatGPT, I want to do research on this and I need you to provide credible resources within it, hallucinating was 2 years ago, right? A year ago, maybe. But now there's a tool, and I showed it to you when I was in here, when you saw Canva and image generation, there's a cool tool called Deep Research. Deep Research is not a GPT that provides you a response to something in 30 seconds. For an example, we rebuilt our entire, well, there was never anything here. I built an entire compensation philosophy and model for Evera Health, right? And I went in there and I said, here's my pay grades by job, right? And what I want, where my pay grades are going to fall, what pay grade for each job. And I want you to do deep research on this. So you do market rate analysis, benchmarking, identify areas that maybe have low outlooks in terms of employability, challenges that might exist from this, because I want to be able to think for the future and not just where it was 2 years ago. Because usually when we look at compensation data, it's lagging, right? It took it 2.5 hours to run this report, and it printed out a 16-page report. And when I showed it to my executive team, they're like, okay, wow, right? Like it would have taken tens of and 20 and 30 hours for a consultant to charge tens of thousands of dollars to do this kind of work for you. Does it make it perfect? No. What's really cool about deep research is it tells you how it's thinking through it logically. It also provides you the sources for everything, right? Here's the sources I pulled this from: LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, whatever it may be. But to your point, Becky, thinking through it and saying, provide any resources or documentation when you're providing guidance. Let me know where you found this information. We'll allow it to link exactly to the information that shows you that those are credible resources on the internet and it's not just hallucinating. So I think it's really a good idea there, especially like you said, with all the fake health trends.
And then
Can you use a training PowerPoint or training module of some sort? No, Cody, you asked, can it build? It can, but it's going to be the basics, right? What I use in my presentation that you guys saw today, I use a program called beautiful.ai. That's the program that I use to create presentations. There's a lot of different programs out there, but ChatGPT is a content generator. It's not a presentation builder, right? You can have it build you. Think about breaking down the steps. You can have it build you all of the slides, the chapters that you want within your presentation, the content for each of those, the speaker points, right? But ultimately, you're still going to have to go out there and build it. You're going to have some creative function to that. Canva is a really great tool for that. Beautiful.ai is a really great tool for that, but that's a good question. Yeah, got to understand the limitations for sure.
Thank you so much, Stephen. This was wonderful. There was so much interaction in the chat. So it was an honor having you here today. Thank you for the presentation. For everyone else, if you haven't filled out the evaluation, please do so. We will be sending out the slide deck. And again, thank you, everyone. I hope everybody has a great afternoon. And thank you, Stephen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.